Now recording.
Hello, Alistair. Thank you so much for being
Jolly
here.
good pip pip cheerio.
And all that nonsense.
And all that. Incredible. So, hello and welcome to not just Game Open, but Patchwork. Real quick, Patchwork is just what we're calling our little fun one-off / side stories. They're not necessarily what the main arcs are focused on. They could be related to them or completely crazy. It's just kind of our catch-all for cool stuff we want to do. Today, this Patchwork, I'm Rob, and I'm joined by...
Hello, I'm Emily. Wow, I'm
incredible.
Oh man, this is gonna be fun.
That's a great start. And today, we're going to be playing a wonderful game called I Have the High Ground, which describes itself as a collaborative, two-player dueling game of banter, posturing, and capes. Like we so often like to do here on the show, I'm going to read the opening blurb. Let's face it, dueling is sexy. But do you know what's sexier than combat? That slower, higher tension duel that occurs before any damage is done, before any blow is even struck, the duel of word and wit, of melodramatic motion and threatening maneuvers. I Have the High Ground is a short, collaborative storytelling game for two players about that kind of duel. Characters can use this opportunity to flaunt their bravado or to perform subtle acts that leave a dramatic and imposing quiet in their wake. Your game is not an action-packed fight to the death, though that might occur in the battle which follows your duel, but rather a betrayal of the smoldering tension between two individuals about to risk their pride, their reputation, or even their lives. Beautiful.
Wow. You had me at dueling is sexy.
Honestly, though, that's...
It's like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, game does something which I love, because so often one of the first things you say to new TTRPG players is, you don't win in TTRPGs. No, there's a winner. There's a winner and a loser in this game. So this is... a lot of the terminology of this game is like a fencing match. So this is a fun little rock, paper, scissors game where we will thrust, feint, or parry, trying to reach 8 points, having done and gotten 8 wins. That's the fun part. We now are going to set up the background. So we're going to begin by deciding the background for our duel. It includes the genre, stakes, history, descriptors, exposition, and environment.
Everything you need for a well-rounded diet.
Exactly. So, genre is going to be pretty easy. We're going to be in the Game Oven world.
That's pretty high fantasy at this point.
Pretty
or
high,
middling
weird
ground
fantasy. Yeah, middling weird fantasy. But now is when we set up the stakes. So there's 3 options here. So there's foil, which is low stakes, which is like a public fencing match between rivals, a champion boxing match, or simply a bar fight. It'll end with both parties walking away alive, and no one will die as a consequence. More like a matter of pride. There's saber, which is meaningful stakes, a duel between knights which determines the fate of their lords, a quest for mortal vengeance in the name of a slain lover, or desperate melee between foot soldiers in the trenches of a larger fight. The battle following this duel is likely to be lethal, either for the participant or those they fight for. And then there's epée, which is towering stakes. A melee between opposing generals, a Jedi and a Sith, clashing lightsabers amidst a ground battle, or 2 hackers vying for control of the life support system. The battle following this duel will be lethal, either for the participant or those they are fighting to protect, or both. In fact, entire battles might be won or lost on the outcome of this fight. So, I mean, I'm in for one of the back two, right? Playing for keeps here,
Yeah.
I think.
How high do we want these stakes?
That's the great question. What's your initial instinct here? The way I see it is Saber, which is the middle, is more like this is more just important to us,
Yeah, something that would change, that would affect our lives, but can just kind of live
but
in the
wouldn't be
background.
like too like world warping in any way. And then obviously Epee would be like this is something very
We're
big.
going into a big story that we're gonna jump on in one of the main arcs someday, maybe.
Whoa. Oh, who's to say?
Who knows? Even a foil could come up in anything.
Oh, of course, of course. So what are your thoughts?
We're gonna have so much in here. I wouldn't mind fate decide how big we want to make this.
No,
Unless you're leaning hard
no, please.
any one way.
All right. So, what do you want to say? Heads for medium stakes, Saber, and tails for Epee, towering stakes.
Sure.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, lower stakes. 4, 5, 6, higher stakes.
Yes.
Higher stakes. I rolled a 5.
Oh.
We're doing an Epee, towering stakes. All right.
We are going to be having some very important words.
So now we're going to determine our history. So who are your characters to each other? This will be the first time establishing concrete backstory. It's okay to move forward, then revisit the question. So we're basically going to pick one or two of these options together. So here's what the game has for us. Betrayal, rivals, arch nemeses, revenge, strangers on the battlefield, former allies, unrequited love, ex-lovers, mentor and mentee, mutual respect, or unrequited respect. We can also, like the game suggests, go and like talk about what we're fighting over and stuff first and come back to this, or what have you.
They're all so good.
True.
Any vibe ideas for what you're going for? Or...
Honestly, I have a more of a vibe of like the later things, less vibes right now.
We can always go do those and then come back and see what we end up with.
Okay. I want to jump to the exposition. So this is what brings the two of you to this particular battlefield today. So this is where the series events leading up to this particular duel are settled, even though these events may shift later. So this is kind of like the why. I had a little thought preceding the game that I thought I would pitch. So, in the lovely second part of Godkiller, which Bree did, the goddess which was killed, Elise, they had domain over undeath and had like these undead servants reanimated by water. And the new god, which Bree played Lutheris, chose to not embrace that particular part of the domain. So my thought is that what if what we're fighting over is when like Lutheris ascended and killed Elise, by like eschewing that part of the domain, it didn't just go away. Like there's essentially like the tiny, like let's call it like 3% of divinity that domain had, just kind of like extant, that is up for grabs.
Love that.
So like it's not enough to become a god, right? It's only 3% of a deity, but you could do a hell of a lot with 3% of a god's power.
Yeah, having undead of a different sort. I mean, that's not nothing.
So, are you down for that?
Absolutely.
Incredible. So, and then while we're going around our characters, there's also the environment. So, where does your duel take place? Choose one adjective from 3 different or statements to describe the environment of your duel. So, there's dangerous or secure, chaotic or serene, precarious or stable, surrounded or isolated, cramped or spacious, dim or bright, boiling or freezing, dilapidated or pristine, ancient or state-of-the-art, still or windy. The events of Godkiller took place like way in game moments past. So I think it would be fun to not have this be like contemporary to those events, but it's kind of like one of those like somehow we've figured all this out like thousands, hundreds of years later.
Yeah, we found the ancient scroll that told of this, and like, wait a minute.
Right, like one original priest of Lotharius after they ascended happened to take note of like, oh, all these undead didn't come with. Isn't that a little weird? And then like maybe one of us or a shared person found that and that kind of started. And so we're at the end of that like trail of evidence here.
I am immediately drawn to dilapidated.
Okay, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So this is making me think that this is like an old temple that was like forgotten about and just left alone.
Some ruins that you can kind of see bits and pieces jutting out of what the architecture used to be like, but it's been overtaken by like moss and lichen.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe some fun bioluminescence going on.
Yes,
sea?
because Alice was very much like an oceanic goddess. So I'm thinking now very much the dramatic like waves up against cliff rock, where it's
Ooh.
basically like this probably not huge island. It's basically just cliff face and then a temple. Like there's no like we had to basically scale the like really wet with seawater cliffs to even get to this temple.
Yeah, because the way to get there used to be known, but only by a few, and so it hasn't been maintained now that the goddess has like just flat out is not a thing anymore. So it's just fallen into disuse and disrepair.
I do love that. And you know what? To really just ratchet the stakes up, let's say that like I'm gonna put precarious because I'm gonna say that the island is only unsubmerged from the ocean for like a couple hours at a time.
Ooh, yeah.
The tide swallows the temple up very regularly, which was like an important part of the temple's function when LSE was a living deity. And so first of all, that allows us to have like all the like seaweed and bioluminescent stuff just like along the walls. And also there's a clock.
The ocean was part of the god, but just because the god is gone does not mean the ocean forgets its tides.
And you know, the new god is very interested in the tides. Awesome. Okay.
But not so much interested in the undead. He was like, nah, I don't need these forced servants.
Exactly. Okay. This is incredible. So already it sounds like we've narrowed away from a couple histories like strangers on the battlefield or like more like impersonal. Like it sounds to me like we have had similar paths to get here. And that actually brings up the kind of spark for this, other than just me really wanting to play this game, is
hey, that's a valid one.
yes, I mean that is part of why we made Patchwork a thing, is that the god I played in my part of the con potluck, Odette, was a very much like recently ascended mortal who was a god of heroism, but through the events of that game of Fiasco became just the god of ambition, heroes, and villains, right? So very much not cared about the morality of like ambition and taking big swings, just leaving your mark. So I think it would be really cool if maybe we've both been following Odette's guidance towards it. Like Odette has been leading us both here, or just we've both been trying to get here and Odette's been like egging us both on for our own different reasons. Which of those sounds more interesting to you?
I do think it'd be fun to play around with having some sort of previous connection before we got here. So maybe,
I mean, there is like mentor and mentee, like
what springs to mind is like some sort of falling out because we think that we both think that we were chosen above the other by Odette, and it's like, well, I don't want to be dragged down by this person anymore. I don't want to disappoint them. It's like, well, to move forward and ambition is to move forward alone, I guess.
Okay, yes, great. So mentor mentee, I think feels great for that. mentor brought in this mentee and has been teaching them Odette's ways, and they've got, and the mentee's been like contacted, but then Odette's like, no, what you want to do, that's what should be done with this thing. Whatever he's caring about, don't do that. Do what you want to do.
Your ambition is to please your mentor? Please. Think bigger.
Yeah, well, I think that could be an interesting way of framing it, is like, I am more than just like your mentee kind of thing.
I am more than your shadow.
Yes. Incredible. So we can also pick a second one. Sounds to me like betrayal is the easy second option then.
To explain the separation, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a betrayal right at the end of the quest here, which I think is very fun because now it frames this as the like, no, join me, like, see my side. We don't have to kill each other. It's gonna be great. Okay, so now we pick descriptors for our characters, which means we'll have to figure out who wants to be mentor, who wants to be mentee. So descriptors establish a basic idea of personalities and aesthetics. They ensure your characters have similarities while also still being set up as foils. So together, we're going to pick one pair of these opposites to describe our characters, and then we're both going to pick one individual descriptor that both characters share. So we're going to basically, like, one of us is going to be vengeful versus forgiving, one is going to be, or like flamboyant versus subtle, or articulate versus quiet, and then we're both going to pick one word to describe both of us that we share. So we could both be debonair or both be impulsive, and then we're going to each
Both
pick...
are debonair, Rob.
Well, I mean our characters. And then we're going to individually pick 2 or 3 to kind of flesh out ourselves. So, any either shared word or dichotomy that really leaps out at you on the list here.
As a recovering theater kid who's never really recovering, flamboyant always jumps out.
Sure. I'm happy to be the subtle to your flamboyant if that's the direction you want to go. Now the question is, does that make you the mentee? That feels like it makes you the mentee, not the mentor.
Which would make sense, since you technically are more familiar with Odette.
Put that down. So Emily, you are the currently flamboyant mentee, and I'm the subtle mentor.
Sounds about right.
And now we gotta pick one that applies to both of us. You know what? I'm gonna throw one out there. I want to say earnest.
Oh.
I think this will work really well if both of our characters, we're not deceivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We both are very clear about our ambitions and how we feel and think.
We are genuine in our belief that, yeah, this is the right way to go. We're not trying to sugarcoat anything or trick anybody. We're just, this is the course of action that I should take. I know this.
Incredible.
Oh, which makes the betrayal aspect so much more painful.
Exactly. We're wavelength. We're both on it. Incredible. So then we each are going to pick 2 or 3 individual descriptors which we can't share. So I'm down to do like a 1-1-1-1. I'll give you the first pick here as my mentee, of course.
Oh, well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see our shared earnest and add to it open book.
Okay, great. I'm gonna grab a little, just a nice little forgiving in there. I'm a forgiving guy.
That's a great person to have as a mentor.
I'm not vengeful, I'm forgiving, it's fine.
Play to my strengths. What will I probably be when playing? Impulsive.
Valid. Impulsive. Alright. I'm gonna put imposing.
Let's see. Got flamboyant, earnest, impulsive, and open book, which would be nicely balanced and added to by underestimated.
Love it. So let's see. We're subtle, earnest, giving, imposing, and feeling a little one note. Let's add passionate to that. Incredible. So there we go. Now we have a better idea of like aesthetics and all that. We have the environment, so character. Next, you will establish details about your individual characters. While the descriptions of your characters are up to you, the mechanics of I Have the High Ground character creation require you to create your characters simultaneously and interactively to ensure interesting similarities and differences between them. So players reserve the right to decide the answer in secret, as their cape choices will affect who has first advantage and who receives priority on the first turn. Alternatively, both players may agree to discuss their capes beforehand. Player opts to wear a cape, they must describe it in detail. So this is quite literally about who is wearing a cape or not in the game. So if one person wears a cape and the other person doesn't, they will have the priority. If someone is wearing the bigger cape, then they will win the advantage and priority. This is fully about the actual literal cape.
Very important question about distinctions. Will we consider a cloak a cape? Because it is a cape with a hood.
I think what we should consider it as is there can be a hood, but there needs to be definitely like, I think it's about aesthetic power of it. Like, is it flapping in the breeze? Is it displaying any kind of power? Versus if it's just like wrapped around you, then that's not a cape. So what we're going to do now is basically just make a quick description of yourself. We can keep it simple for now and expand upon it later, but just kind of basics. What does the audience see of us in the like opening shots? Also, something that we don't have right now. Do you wanna help me figure out a primary symbol for Odette that like worshippers would wear? Think of a symbol for.
I mean, there's the whole staircase thing, which no, I don't think we're looking quite for that. There's like reaching hand, sort of like.
Yeah, what if it's like a hand grasped around like a depiction of a globe, right? Like a, of palming the globe.
So what you're saying is in Game Woven, we know the Earth is round.
Yeah. Canon.
Or whatever planet we're on.
Incredible.
It's not Earth. We're not on Earth. We're on fantasy Earth.
Not even. Incredible. Okay.
Maybe it's not round. We don't know.
You feel like you have a idea set, or?
I mean, one question becomes, do I choose now to try and establish my elven superiority in this world? Because I am definitely going to be the one to bring elves into Game Woven at this rate.
There are no guardrails on here, no bumpers.
I'm not that good at bowling.
Don't worry, it's rock, paper, scissors, not bowling. You'll be okay.
Could you imagine virtually bowling for a game? Okay, bowling the RPG. Now we need to do it.
We bowling the TT.
Lex, right? Bowling the RPG. Think.
Be careful. Lex will do it, and it will actually turn out to be really good.
And then it'll be shocked. Like, I don't know why people think it's good. I just threw it together really quickly.
All right, I think I have an idea. So, I think we're gonna go. I don't know how well you know like the World of Warcraft like armor aesthetic of like the big pauldrons and like big pieces of armor. We're gonna go like a couple steps down from that, but like I'm imagining like very much kind of like large kind of like greaves and pieces of metal armor with large gaps for like the like kind of cloak / undergarments to show through. So kind of like not like walking around in a full set of armor, but very much kind of like maybe more like half plate, kind of like large breastplate with the hand grasping the globe. But I'm gonna say it's all a little like dingy and it's not unkempt, but it's definitely like very clearly like old armor and not brand new. I'm gonna say no helmet, wears like a circlet. We'll say kind of like salt and pepper, short cropped hair. I think that while they are showing signs of age, not scarred in any way, as like very clearly, if you looked at their hands and their armor, have gotten in a lot of fights, but has no scarring on their face. And then, just for a little fun, I'm gonna say like really bright orange eyes.
Eye-catching. And
Okay.
do they have a name?
Great. Now we have to name things.
Name your character, Rob.
So I'm gonna go with a Sir, S-E-R. Like, is some kind of ability or knight, like has some kind of like title in some kind of organization, which we might figure out later. Describe your character, then I'll come back with a name.
Okay, obviously younger. I'd say probably somewhere mid to late 20s. Because it's me, definitely leaning towards androgynous, but probably a little more feminine. Dark brown hair, but with almost a purple tinge in the shadows for something fun. Braided up and back with, we'll say, vaguely pointy ears for now. We're not sure what from or anything. They could be gray folk. We don't know. No major armor, actually. Got something of a thicker leather waistcoat, not quite leather armor or padded armor, but just less dressed for actual battle and more just there to be listened to. Bright colored shirt, but deep tones around, like deep reds, to really draw the eye, since a bright and deep red doesn't naturally occur much outside of maybe some flowers, some fruits, some blood, things that really draw the eye.
Yeah.
Just something to pay attention to, with nice shining gold filigree metallic threads throughout the outfit. Badass boots, because you're going through wetlands and just sailing territory, so gotta have some nice leather boots. Like, definitely less of the fighter vibe, but more kind of a, I don't want to say a politician feel, but definitely still comes off as could be part of the upper class nobility if it weren't for the fact that they just seem so chill.
Understood.
Like, not really propriety.
Understood. Also, the one thing that we were supposed to establish, capes. I think there is like a very short half cape, kind of only off of one shoulder, so like off the left shoulder, that is like violently being torn by the breeze. Also, I'm going to establish Odette's color is purple, because that just makes sense to me. Deep faded, kind of like plum cape that kind of like comes off the shoulder pauldron.
My plan was, it's kind of cross between cape and cloak. Like, it definitely has the hood for traveling and for drama.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice billowy, like mid-shin cape that's meant to just blow behind you in the wind off the ocean. That again continues the embroidery and the filigree onto it. Has the grasping hand of Odette but above it, coming out of the globe that is being held by this ambitious hand, is a phoenix.
Ooh, love it. So, because you have won the Cape rubric, which is a fun sentence to say, you actually start with an advantage. So this is not like mechanically a thing, but you are going to pick an advantage, and then we will then alternate until we both have 2. So there are quite a few different things. So like, for instance, one thing you could pick is the element of surprise, superior fashion, a more accomplished record, superior weaponry, etc., etc., etc.
I mean, surprisingly, I can't by default claim superior fashion because we love a good worn-down armor set.
Yeah.
But I could choose to say that I have.
I think you could actually with your description.
It's the embroidery.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
definitely.
also, my character's name is Laurel Vale.
Is it spelled how I think? Like the 2 words, Laurel and Vale?
Vale being the V-A-L-E, Vale.
So, I don't know the last name for this person yet, but their proper titleage is going to be Sir Vicar the Unmarred.
I don't think you need to throw a last name in there.
Yeah, well, counterpoint, you're definitely going to want to throw not my noble title at me at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to call me like Vic.
I know who you were. I know who you were. What's going on, Vicky?
Yeah, we're going to be Sir Vicar Bellum. So, you get to pick the first advantage.
I think I'm going to go with extensive training for this particular fight.
Incredible. I've trained you too well. I'm definitely going to go with superior weaponry. I think that's not a...
That's fair.
Yeah. Not that you need to be dressed in metal armor semi like a knight to be good at fighting, but it does help.
Experience.
Alright, and you get to pick a second one?
Oh, would it be more funny for me or for you to have comprehensive intel on your opponent? Man.
That's a great question. I mean, you could also pick anonymity in that I don't actually know who you... Like Laurel Vale is not your real name, or that is your real name, and you give me a second name.
Or maybe I'm just walking around going by the Phoenix or something. It's like there's a Phoenix rising with the tide. Oh, that reveal would be so fun. Yeah, I think I like anonymity. It has a lot of potential.
Great.
They all do.
I mean, they also do. Definitely did not spell that word right, but that's fine.
That's what spell check is for.
Correct. This episode's sponsored by Spell Check, the concept. Quick question.
We can be sponsored by concepts now. That's cool.
I mean, who's gonna sue us about it?
This episode of Game Over is sponsored by the concept of soup.
Ooh. Quick question then. So, I imagine that we've been together for a while, at least, like doing adventures and stuff. I like the idea that I became a Sir post you being my mentee.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I like the idea that because you are underestimated, like I got knighted for whatever super dope shit we did, you did not. You were just like, no. And of course,
it's like, I see.
Sir Vicar's mentee, the Phoenix, I guess.
All of the blame, none of the credit.
Yeah. So obviously, I love going by the Phoenix, especially like to the plebs. Do I know the name Laurel Vale? Do you want to give me a fake name and Laurel Vale is the real name? Do you want to say Laurel Vale is the fake name and not tell me the real name until the reveal? Ooh. What do you want to do? Because I feel like I wouldn't just call you the Phoenix for however many years we've been traveling. I wouldn't accept that answer.
It's like, oh, that's neat. You gave yourself a title. I'm
that's
not using
cute.
that.
Yeah.
You're adorable.
That's very cute.
I think I want Laurel Vale to be the true name.
Yeah, it's such a good name is the problem.
to the point where I was just like, Bree, shout out to Bree, our editor. Hi, Bree. Bree, is the name Laurel Vale too good to use for a one-shot?
No!
It's like, should I come up with something else?
Depending on who survives this, Laurel Vale could come back.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Kyla Riven.
Kyla Riven, what I know you as. Understood.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Incredible.
Sounds like somebody who would go to a temple to learn.
So now we're going to choose our weapon. So we're going to specify and describe it. It must be appropriately matched to the power level of your opponent's weapon. But I did pick superior weaponry, so there needs to be a meaningful difference in power level.
Which means I don't get to choose a glaive.
Well, you can. I just have to figure out something that's more powerful than a glaive. And since you have the advantage, you do reserve the right to ask me to change my weapon in some way. While the relative strength of your weapon will not affect the mechanical outcome of your duel, it provides an advantage that the character with the superior weaponry advantage might choose to flaunt during dialogue or motion. So, I think since I need to make I need to make something cooler and more superior than whatever you make, I feel like I would like for you to go first if you have an idea.
I mean, my character is very flashy and flamboyant. It's literally built into my personality.
Yeah.
So my character's personality. Sorry.
I wasn't gonna let that sit there.
And I have a fondness for swords.
Yeah, I mean.
So definitely some sort of blade.
Okay.
Although I do love me a good glaive. I'm not wandering around the countryside with a glaive.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like it fits the very little armor aesthetic, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it would certainly taunt people into potentially attacking you, but also the reach would kind of keep them away a bit. But no.
What kind of sword are we talking? Paint me a word picture.
I do love a good rapier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for a good rapier. Something not too overly ornate.
Okay.
For the handguard or anything, but simple enough that it, at first glance, you might think, oh, that's pretty basic. There's nothing wonderful there. But if you know what you're looking for and looking at, you're like, wow, the craftsmanship on that is so precise. It's even more impressive than if it were to have all of the little filigree twirls and decorations.
Understood. Pitch for just a little bit of ornamentation. There's a little bit of flame motif on the guard.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's primarily done in more of a silvery metal, and then that little bit is copper.
Yeah.
To add to draw the eye.
Oh, I had this idea as you were speaking. I'm gonna have a glaive. But what I'm gonna do, because I set up the circlet and being like, I don't know why this person's wearing a circlet instead of a helmet.
Because
I know
it looks
why.
cool.
Yes, but I think I'm gonna fully Yondu it, where I don't carry the glaive. It is a floating glaive which I control.
That's terrifying.
So that's where the unmarred come from, because my duels I can be
as
removed,
far away as you can see.
Yeah, and now to be fair, people can close distances or force me to have to grab the glaive and fight up close. But in the majority of fights, I am able to keep a lot of distance, and that's why. No scars. I'm very. It's like a point of recognition and probably pride.
You know what? Just for that, I have one scar.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of on the nose across the cheekbone, and it just looks like I got in a badass fight, but in actuality, it was a training accident, and you felt terrible.
Yes. I mean, I'm forgiving. I'm forgiving. I'm earnest. I had passion. I definitely would have apologized very sincerely. As far as the glaive's aesthetics, first of all, I'm imagining like big rounded kind of like leaf-like blades on either side with so we're gonna say that the circlet on the like central gem on the circlet is kind of looks like we're gonna say like a geode, um, and then like obviously broken open, and then the other like half of the geode, right? If you put them together, make the full kind of like
It is on the glaive.
exactly
Oh,
that is split in half, one on each side, kind of right where the blade meets the haft, and it's like a metal handle, so it's like a full metal glaive because I don't have to carry it most of the time. It can be
Full
heavier
Metal
than
Glaive is my band name.
it's my favorite anime too. So it's just like a full metal like glaive that floats using these like geodes that are on my circlet. And that is absolutely pristine. Like the armor, been aging and not gotten changed out, not gotten like enhancements on. The glaive kept spotless. Absolutely spotless.
Fantastic.
Incredible. And now, inventory. What interesting items are you carrying on your person? Establish 2. This can include fashion accessories, items of utilitarian value, such as a boot knife or armored pauldron, trinkets from your past, or even your opponent's past, if they agree.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so just two little fun guys.
I do think I kind of want to have something from you that I
Yeah.
just keep hidden, like
Like,
a memory of the past.
yeah, like, what if it could be the first holy symbol of Odette I gave you, or like maybe like the first commendation you earned with me or from me, or it could just be
Ooh,
like a first like a first dagger or something like that.
love me a good ornamental blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think let's go with the dagger. I like
Right.
the
So, like,
possible future potential for
yeah.
that. So a dagger given during like at a stage in not the full completion of my training, but the going from a beginner into
like a big midpoint.
yeah.
Like you're an adult now, air quotes.
I
in
reached
terms of,
the
like,
point where
training.
I could cut off my Padawan braid and
Yeah,
start
yeah.
growing my hair.
Perfect. Love it. Okay. So I love the anonymity. I want to have something that is connected to your past, but I don't know is. If that makes sense. So like in my head, I feel like I want to have like, I don't know, just like a burnt piece of something that maybe I found on you, like maybe like I don't know, like in my head, like maybe I found you and like saved you from something and like found this on you and just like for whatever reason held onto it and didn't bring it up. And I don't know what it means and you don't know I have it. It's just something that's there. In my brain, the thing that's jumping out to me because of all the aesthetics that you've been throwing out is just like burnt piece of like brick, like scarred by flame, like piece of brick.
Ooh.
How's that sound? We can shift that around if it's not.
No, that sounds like it'd be pretty cool to work with, and maybe it's just that held on to it in case you like it's a particular type of stone that you haven't really seen, so maybe you can find where it originates from and be like, oh hey, we can find out what happened someday.
Love it. Okay, great. All right, second one for you.
I'm feeling just like a small rolled up scroll in a little scroll case worn as a necklace.
Hey, yeah.
What's on the scroll? I don't know.
You're
I'm
right.
sure Laurel does. I'll figure that out when I need to.
Also, for Laurel, they, she, or she, they?
They, she, probably.
She, you got it. And I'm gonna go he, they.
Theys and gays around here.
Let's go. And I'm gonna say, I have a keepsake from my dead spouse. I don't know how they died or when they
Ooh.
died, but I have like let's say it's just like the wedding band. I don't wear it. I wear it around my neck as well.
I love how my brain just defaulted into making dead spouse one word. So that's a thing now.
Like the music artist, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
which region are you originally from? Does that make you a flower?
I don't feel like I'm from Zalo.
Good, because you've got a pretty serious weapon there.
Very true, and it's also not bronze.
It's not bronze.
Incredible.
Not this
So
one.
now we're going to establish the circumstances of our encounter. So there's these example openings. For each opening, you'll be asked to choose whether or not you want to roll or die or answer questions. Basically, now we're getting into play. So real quick, how it works is, so you are going to start with priority. And all that means is, so we're now going to, once we get into the actual game, we're just going to pick thrust, feint, or parry, which is kind of like rock, paper, scissors. And if someone beats the other, then they will get a point. On a tie, whoever has priority will win, and priority is going to keep switching back and forth. So you're going to start with priority, and then I'm going to gain priority, and back and forth, and back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep playing till somebody hits 8 points, at which point we go to kind of like a sudden death.
Well, 8 points, then
The
whoever
weapons get
doesn't have
bronze
it
or-
draws their weapon, and then once you hit 9 points, it immediately resolves the battle.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Yes, you got it. So
Since we're both just kind of following this path that we found and think we're the only one who found out how to get to this place that exists,
Mhm.
there's also the chance encounter, which I think could be nice, which
that's
designates
fair.
one player as the encounterer, the other as someone they encountered by chance. Within the narrative, their meeting place is accidental, and the encounterer stumbles unexpectedly into view of the encountered. So, like, we both just kind of happened there at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So understanding this, these are actually just kind of like ways to help you start off. We don't
Mhm.
have to use any of these kind of things. So
We can just jump in.
we can kind of just jump in. So the three moves that we can choose are thrust, which beats feint. Thrust win means that the victor made an offensive move which hit the loser exactly where it hurts. Thrust beats feint but loses to parry. In a thrust win, the victor's narration should describe a physical action or dialogue that's imposing, biting, or carefully pierces a tender spot, while the loser should demonstrate their hurt. A feint, which beats parry, is the victor offered provocation or bait and the loser took it. Feint beats parry but loses to thrust. In the feint win, the victor hit the loser in an emotionally tender spot or took a threatening action which makes the loser particularly nervous and jumpy. The loser must narrate a significant and vulnerable reaction to the bait, but remember the victor still reserves the right for the last narration for the turn. And then finally, parry. The loser offered an aggressive thrust, which the victor struck aside to make a powerful.
Oh!
Yeah, I know.
The
Makes a powerful
victor!
card. Yeah, weird. In a parry win, the loser must offer the winning player a pitiful insult where their character lobs fruitlessly at the victor, setting up a comeback or an imposing physical move which the victor can effectively counter. So basically, we've got a couple of options of how we want to do this, but basically we're going to pick one of these three moves as the first things for our character, then we'll reveal simultaneously. The way I think will probably be easiest is whoever's priority will just do a quick countdown. So you starting out, it'll be you, and then you'll just say thrust, feint, or parry, and then we'll read off what that narratively means, and then we will just narrate it until we feel like we're ready to choose our next move. And that's it.
Until it ends.
Until the bitter end. So let me know once you're basically ready to pick, once you feel like you've got your move picked out.
I'm already pretty sure what I'm gonna do, but I would just want to get
Yeah.
to a page that will give me the most reminder
No
of
worries.
what I'm doing. And wouldn't you know it, It's page 3, right at the beginning. Everything you need.
Incredible. The only other thing that I will establish is that we also do have one penalty move we can use, which beats everything. But you have to roll 2d6, and if you roll above your current score, you fail this penalty move. So so you wanna do it later, but not too late. But that's something we'll get to later, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you definitely can't roll that until you have at least, technically at least 2.
Yeah.
But you want at least 3.
At least like 3 or 4.
You've heard of it meets, it beats, but this is more like it meets, it crit fails.
Yes, you desperately don't want to roll your exact number of points. All right.
I mean, your character doesn't. You might.
True.
We're here to tell a story. You ready?
I think so.
3, 2, 1. Faint.
Ooh.
Tie off the bat.
A faint tie, you have priority, so you are going to win. So a faint tie indicates that both characters attempt to bait a response, but the character with priority didn't fall for it, winning the turn by responding instead with an even higher stakes ruse, which successfully provokes the loser into losing their cool or revealing something they didn't intend to. So like the example it gives is the loser minimizes the victor's war record, but instead of displaying hurt, the victor names an occasion that the loser got their entire squad killed, causing the loser to lash out where the victor did not. So, first of all, some establishing shots. We get like the helicopter shot of this like ruined, falling over temple on the middle of this like ocean, just like absolutely just slamming against the cliffs and rocks of this island.
It's probably not actually raining, but it's just really dark and overcast. Like, it just you can feel the coolness of the moisture seeping through your skin.
Yeah, well, I imagine there's like heavy wind, and that's just like sea spray just like across everything. Where do you want to be physically here? I'm imagining, like, do we want to be on like the steps into the like part of the temple we know this thing is at? Do we want to have just kind of climbed up and are getting our bearings? When do you think you would have popped off?
I want to say you probably were entering first, while I was out scoping kind of the grounds a bit. So I just come around behind you, and maybe we're in some sort of courtyard, so it has just the slightest bit of protection against the elements, but it's still very much out in the open. Sir Vicar is probably, I would think, like looking at what once would have been the door to enter this temple, when suddenly from behind you maybe hear a very definitive sound of steps on the stone, so you can turn around. Since I'm not surprising you here, we both attempted the thing. Maybe just one of those, go to open your mouth. It's like, isn't this a bit far out of the world for an old man such as yourself?
I would have thought you would have learned by now not to underestimate my age and effects on me, young one.
Well, at least you'll have the cold seeping into your bones to feel something before you don't make it out of here as you think you will.
I think Vicar was taking this as like a ribbon, right? Like friendly. Well, like, you know, like it's not like he didn't hear that and immediately go, "Oh, this person's gonna try and kill me," right? So immediately the body posture like changes, and the glaive kind of like detaches from the back. It doesn't go anywhere, like, instinctually, and then goes back onto it. And what exactly, pray tell, do you mean by that, little one?
Nothing. I've simply heard that the undead do well around here.
Yes, of course. feel like I want to do a move.
And you have priority.
Yes. Alright, I think I got what I want to do.
Okay.
You good to go?
On your mark.
3, 2, 1.
Harry.
Oh, but that's a me because I have priority. Parry tie. A parry tie indicates that the character without priority believes that they finally spotted an opportunity in which to counter, but the player with priority wins the turn by patiently outlasting them, parrying the loser's blow to strike their own counterattack. Alternatively, the actions of the character without priority might also be misinterpreted as a thrust. I'm so sorry. This concern, if you are concerned with my well-being, then I can only imagine the fear you must feel for yourself.
What do I have to be afraid of?
Oh. And when you seem so concerned for my mortal being, and I have been here on this world facing undead and things like it for far longer than you've even been done for my training. What reason would I have to fear that would not cause you to tremble in your boots? Your also pricey boots.
They seemed practical at the time.
Many things do for you. Wipe away the veneer of wealth from them, don't they?
Better a veneer than a life wasted.
It was wasting anything here.
Here itself is wasting away. Admiring the view.
No, in fact, I was ready to finally conclude what we have worked for so long to do before I was interrupted.
Oh, it's we now, is it? I thought it was more of you. I think it's time for a move.
I think so too. So you are back to having priority.
Indeed.
Alright, I think I've got mine.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Thrust.
Oh my god.
Who are you? Get out of my head.
Oh, you first. So a thrust tie means that both characters attempted aggressive actions, but the player with priority won the turn by being more imposing, their demonstration of wit or prowess on overshadowing their opponent's pathetic jab.
I get the feeling for this. We've both just kind of been staring at this opportunity, like, oh, I thought I was going to be the first one here, and you're here. I thought I'd beaten you. That we just dropped words for a moment, just looked at each other, and both went to enter the temple at the same time.
Yeah.
So, like, without words, I already forgot my not name, Kyla.
You can say your
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Whoever I am. I just turned and glared at you until you just backed into the old ways of, oh, after you.
Yeah. I like the idea that I turn to just dismiss you and just go into the temple alone, but you managed to storm ahead and not let me kind of dismiss this and continue on the this energy as we descend into the temple.
You claim that you've been at this for so long, but I have been at this perhaps my memorable life.
Love it.
One of these days we're gonna get a point.
It's 2-1. You still get the point, because you have priority, so...
We just need a victory. We're 2 in sync.
I mean...
It'll be so satisfying when it comes. Yeah,
Exactly.
but is it though?
Okay.
Entering into the temple.
Entering it in the temple, let's do another move here. I think I know my heart hurts what I want to do.
Let's see.
3, 2, 1, thrust.
Thrust.
No!
Come on!
Okay. Incredible. I mean, statistically,
We could
you
not
love
have
it.
scripted that.
So, as we get in, first of all, I'm imagining dilapidated stone walls. Like, I don't think this is an up, this is a down, like into the island situation.
Yes.
And the only lighting is like this bioluminescent, like kind of coral looking stuff. So it's like a very kind of like ambient, dim glow.
Question.
Answer.
Is there a well here?
There would have to be. It's super important. I think we're not at the well. I think the
It's
well is where we're getting
the
to.
well. Yeah.
No, but I think the well is where we need to get to in the temple, and we're in like
Mhm.
the first part of it. Yeah, all right, and we're gonna go with first instinct. So, as we enter the room, which is, I think, is very clearly seems like kind of just like a place where like a mass or some kind of like large group ritual would go on. Like,
Mhm.
probably this might be where they prepared sacrifices to LSE, because you know that was kind of her
That was the thing
thing.
back then, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of stone,
mm-hmm.
just kind of cracked and crumbling.
And I will pick up a fragment of this stone and kind of like toss it to you like a baseball, like just kind of like to catch,
I think I catch it.
and then pull out of my bag a burnt piece of stone. You know, I found this on you the day I first met you, and I haven't seen its like this whole time of my life, except, and then point at the piece of stone, which is the exact same kind of stone. Right now. What have you told me, Kyla?
And since we both thrust, but you succeeded, I feel like I'm just gonna not answer you, whip the stone at you, and you dodge it. It just clatters uselessly behind you.
I'm gonna say I just like hold up a bracer and just shatters on the armor.
Oh,
And then I'll just take a step forward towards you. Nothing more than that. Just holding up the stone, I'll just take one purposeful step forward.
the thrust. I'm gonna hold my ground.
Yeah.
Definitely look more alert.
Mhm.
Just the instinct, like hands to the side, straight up, like wariness. But no steps back, no stumble. Just the slightest little hand twitch for reaching for the blade. It's like, no,
Mhm.
don't let him win. Don't let him rile you up. You're better than this now.
Well, it sounds like we need to do a move then.
Mm-hmm.
So you have priority.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Faint.
Thrust.
Whoa!
I think that's
Here we
exactly what you
go.
want. Oh no, thrust beats faint. Uh-oh. So the victor made an offensive move which hit the loser exactly where it hurts. Thrust beats feint but loses to parry. In a thrust win, the victor's narration should describe a physical action and or dialogue that's imposing, biting, or carefully pierces a tender spot, while the losers should demonstrate their hurt.
I was so close to parrying too.
I thought you might, because I was like, there's no way I do anything but thrust right now. Like, that is the only thing. So I think this is perfect, because feint is you're trying to deflect, right? You're trying to like obscure more. So I think it works best. What do you say? And when it's clear I'm not like going to accept no answer.
I know nothing of stones, old man. What do you expect me to tell you?
I remember how often you seem to delight in being called the Phoenix. How often you enjoyed these moments of our quest which required deception, trickery, and it is a useful skill. It is a skill I am proud you have learned, but it is not becoming when you try to use it on me, child. Just as I have taught you your best ways to wield that blade, but I've taught you so many other things. Have I not earned a moment of truth before our triumph?
As soon as he said child, hand, fist. It's like, how dare you talk down to me like a child after all I've done, all I've learned, all we've been through, and you still think of me as this thing you found on the side of the hill?
I think there's like a genuine moment of like bit of sadness at that comment. Like you see the face fall a little bit. No, that's not how I think of you. I think of you as a gift. You are gifted and driven, and you have tempered as I helped you grow to be what you could become. So too you tempered me into what I now stand before you as. It's only because of your drive and way of moving about and making a mark on this world that I have a title. I have things that I would never have even dreamed possible. Look now where we stand.
We stand in ruin.
We stand on the precipice of greatness.
And what do I have to gain of your greatness, Sir Vicar?
I suppose that depends on whether or not you're going to act like a child.
I think it's time for a move.
I think so too. Okay, so for 3-2, I have priority.
You have priority.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, parry.
Thrust. Oh.
He's reading you like a book. So, the loser offered an aggressive thrust, which the victor struck aside to make a powerful counterattack. Parry beats thrust, but loses to feint. In a parry win, the loser must offer the winning player a pitiful insult that the character lobs fruitlessly at the victor, setting up a comeback or an imposing physical move which the victor can effectively counter.
I feel like it's time for the surname to come out.
I love it.
You talk about what you've built, the name that you have, the title you've gained, Sir Vicar the Unmarred. Unmarred my ass. I have seen you fail and fall, Vicar Bellum. You're a man the same as the rest of us, and you think that you can claim anything of the gods? You are too set in the old ways. Maybe it's time you step aside for some young blood.
You will leave their name out of your mouth. I have lost. Yes. But that has made me only the stronger. A thing which you have failed to learn after all of these years. The fact that you have lost nothing makes you only weaker. You know not the ambition of one who has lost. You have the ambition of one who has never had. Until I brought you in. That is why I call you child. You are a formidable person, but you still have much to learn about the way the world truly is.
Well, maybe the world will be a better teacher.
I doubt it. Move.
Move.
Ah!
3, 2, 1.
Bang.
Parry.
So I'm
I'm not doing so good here.
Oh no.
My narrative is setting me up to lose.
Oh no! The victor offered provocation or bait, and the loser took it. Feint beats parry, but loses to thrust. In a feint win, the victor hit the loser in an emotional tender spot or took a threatening action, which makes the loser particularly nervous and jumpy. I mean, that fits, I feel like,
Whoa.
after what I just said to you.
Uh-huh.
So you believe that you could learn from the world all on your lonesome? That you could make your own mark? How would that go, pray tell?
Maybe I don't need to leave my own mark. Not a name. But boy, would I love to mark the unmarred. And show you your own shame.
Like an exasperated sigh. That is alright. I know that this journey is a difficult one. And your struggles are not unknown to me.
Do not patronize me, old man.
I simply want you to know that I understand why you are reaching out. It is alright. I do not blame you. You have a spark of ambition in you, and that is not something which I will ever hold you in contempt for. Just know when to fan its flames, or simply let it rest. Yes?
I think they just stare at you. Stone-faced. As solid as the stone in your pocket.
And I think at this point, I'm just gonna plop stone at your feet and turn around to head deeper into the temple.
I kind of just want to kick that stone back at you.
Well, that sounds like it would be a move.
Oh my! Gee, I wonder what
so-
move I'm gonna do.
So it's your you just
It's your
had
priority.
so it'll be my priority. Understood.
Do I go with what narratively makes sense, or do I try and strategize? Why would I start doing that now?
Same. All right. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Faint.
Rust.
That'll be to you.
I think I do. I think I just kick the stone back at you.
Yeah.
It's like you lay my past at my feet that you kept from me? You expect this to hold any meaning when you've held it for yourself this entire time. You talk about fanning the spark. You were the one that kept it from flaming in the first place. You held me back. For what? Titles? Claim to ambition? I have all the time in the world compared to you, and I will be better than you ever were. You don't know ambition, not yet.
I imagine it like shatters on the back piece of armor. Just like goes like rigid. And slowly I'll just like turn my head back. Is my tutelage truly so onerous? Do find all of my lessons to be so distasteful then?
Distasteful? No. Dated, perhaps. You've not been out in the world enough anymore. Times have changed. Keep up. Because I will not slow down for you.
I have not struggled to keep up so far, and I will not struggle to do so now or in the future.
Are you telling that to me or to yourself?
Just like harumphs at you. doesn't have a comeback for that.
Oh, I feel like by the time I said that, like I'd slowly been walking up towards you to catch up to where you were.
Yes.
That line straight to your face and continued on ahead further in.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. I believe it's me.
Your priority.
Yes. 3, 2, 1. Harry.
Harry. And we're back.
And we're back.
So of course it's your priority.
And it feels so good. Oh boy.
Oh.
Fairy tie indicates the character without priority believes that they've finally spotted an opportunity in which to counter. But the player with priority wins the turn by patiently outlasting them, parrying the loser's blow to strike their own counterattack. Alternatively, the actions of the character without priority might also be misinterpreted as a thrust, display of genuine emotion.
That fits.
I feel like we want to be in view, but not in the same room as the well. So I'm imagining this is going to be the like antechambers of the like part of the temple.
Something sort of grotto-ish.
Yeah, okay. It's not the temple gives way to like a which will like 90% of the time be underwater. So it is. Like,
yeah, because there's a tide that we have to concern ourselves.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think what will happen is you are like walking down confidently, and think honestly what it might be is maybe you step into like either a trap or like a piece of unstable flooring, and I will just at the last second grab and pull you out of it.
By the cape.
Yes, I will grab you by the cape and pull, and in fact I will pull hard enough to like I save you from at the very least getting injured, but I will pull a small section of the cape off and I will hold it out to you.
Some of the embroidery from some of the feathers from the phoenix.
Yes, it just has like a couple phoenix feathers on it. I will like tuck it into your collar. Let this be a reminder of the cost of mistimed ambition. Yes?
And their hand just goes straight up to the scar on their face.
I'm like looking right at
timing. It's like, oh, it's so good.
Just like the stare down. I also real quick want to establish neither of us are taller than the other, so I like to imagine that like we're actually pretty much of height. I like the idea that like Kyla's actually like very for their age, like physically opposing in like
the
on
boots
level.
Help. The boots help.
On
they
level, yeah, exactly, like on level with Vicar.
Just ever so slightly shorter, like eyes at nose level.
Without the boots, it'd be much more significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple more, just a little more noticeable, but like if you stoop a little in your weariness in your age and I stand up straight, we could be thought to be the same height.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's the thing of like, unless I am actively like conscious of it. I don't stand to like my full height at all times. I think Felix Cerviker, like he is starting to lose a bit of that edge. Like he's not an old man, but he's not as young as he used to be. He has lived a pretty full life so far.
And Kyla just takes the feathers out of the collar and tucks it into like the top of his armor a bit and like, keep it. Sorry about your rock.
And I think just smiling just says, "You're forgiven."
Ugh. Just that little bit of the old banter creeping through. It's like, oh my god, this again. Thanks, Dad.
Did you say that?
No. Maybe. No.
Feels like it's time for a move.
Yeah.
Okay, your priority.
My priority. 3, 2, 1.
Parry.
Faint.
I think Faint beats Parry.
Faint beats Parry. Yay!
Back on the board. We're 4-6 here.
Not as bad as it was for a while.
Yeah. So the victor offered provocation or bait, and the loser took it. Feint beats Parry, but loses a thrust. In a feint win, the victor hit the loser in an emotional tender spot or took a threatening action, which makes the loser particularly nervous or jumpy.
I feel like after the little incident of walking into kind of a trap and the exchange with the feathers of getting back into the banteriness, Kyla just goes into it. Impulsive, flamboyant, open book, all of these things just falls right back in. Like, I remember one time when you basically tripped over your own shoelaces kind of thing, just starts into that back and forth, working into the how things were back when they were together at the temple, being training, mentor, mentee, just all of that, and then kind of rug pulls it. This is how it was. It was so normal back then. You could almost consider it idyllic, just a simple life. Of course, then there was the incident, the spy who slipped through that could have devastated our plans for working our way into the council in that town that you had welcomed in. He nearly killed several of our friends. I guess sometimes being trusting isn't always a good thing.
Tell me now, what do you speak of?
Have you forgotten about Tobias? Did you never wonder where he went?
His journeys were his own, but yes, I did wonder why he never returned to the cult.
I thought they told you everything. It turns out he was ambitious. He wanted to be at the top of all of us, and was willing to do anything to get there. And he almost made it.
And it sounds like I do not need to ask who halted Tobias's ascent.
What can I say? Maybe I had a good teacher. When he opened his eyes.
I think there is definitely a pensiveness here. This idea of forgiveness and being welcoming is slightly at odds with ambition generally, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. You want to surround yourself with people who will help you.
right. And I think that this is definitely hitting into. I think you definitely pierce right into one of Sir Vicar's like biggest insecurities and like doubts here. And I obviously know that. Like
Yeah.
this is not an accident, obviously.
Apparently, they didn't trust you to know the truth.
Not all paths to ambitions are aligned with truth. Suppose. But if it was you who stopped such a well-hidden plot, I dare say you did a very good job.
Thank you.
I know you and Tobias got along well during training, so it must have been difficult.
Difficulty builds character.
It's good to hear you maybe have retained some of my lessons at least. I think in this moment, it's like he has forgotten where we are, right? It's like he's just locked in this conversation. I'm trying to think if he has the last word or if I want to go into another move. I think it's just time for another move. I think he's too in his head at this moment.
It got deep.
Yeah.
You dug too greedy, too deep.
Yeah. Exactly. 3, 2, 1. Parry.
Thrust.
That's for me.
Parry beats
Me to
thrust.
7.
Oh.
The loser offered an aggressive thrust, which the victor struck aside to make a powerful counterattack. In a parry win, the loser must offer the winning player a pitiful insult that the character lobs fruitlessly at the victor, setting up a comeback or an imposing physical move, which the victor can effectively counter. So it definitely makes sense why we go for the thrust right now. Like Vicar is very clearly
in your head. Well, time to maybe make you realize that you have made more mistakes than you thought. Of course, you're all about forgiveness and bringing people up, and yet, where were you when you received all of the credit for our work? The gods honor ambition. You gained a title. And what did I gain? A lesson? Just another of your lessons? It's all lessons with you.
Do you know what this title really is for this church? I know I haven't taught you it. I did not think so. You never were the one for extra religious texts. This title is bestowed upon those, yes, who have made a mark upon the world, by those who have done so and cast off their ambition to become these clerics, administrators of Odette's will. This title, yes, it has brought me some acclaim to those not within our church. It is easy to bandy a sir, gain respect at a local tavern, or audience access to a library. But to those in our church with the same title, my title is a bounty, young one. Until I relinquish all flames of ambition, the rest of my peers in this church will never stop hunting me. Or if you can kill another with a title, and you already have, you will ascend to the very heights of the church. You wanted this title? No. You would have found your throat slit in the night.
Huh.
You would have been challenged to a duel by someone 20 years your senior, and even greater so in experience. I have trained you to face many challenges, but I would never put you to face that challenge until you were ready. I would have rejoiced. Put a title in front of your name, Kyla. But I did not, and I would not have signed your death warrant to do so.
Well, that's not your choice anymore.
You tell.
I'm here. As are you. You say you killed to gain a title. What is it you're welcoming in?
It's not becoming to turn down a title which is offered, is it?
Perhaps I'll walk out of here with a title. Sir Kyla isn't the worst. Sir Riven, even better. Sir Phoenix, trite. But Sir
that.
Laurel... Sir Laurel has a nice ring to it.
And there. That, I believe. And that does ring some truth, now doesn't it?
I think it's time for a move.
I think so too.
3, 2, 1. Thrust.
That's you!
Tide thrust.
7 to 5!
Thrust tie. Both characters attempt aggressive action.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to do thrust first? What?
You can go first.
Sounds good. If you believe that getting secrets from me, Tobias, your true name, means that you are ready to face me, that you're ready for what the world, our church, would throw at you, were you to somehow defeat me, then I fear I have not taught you much at all.
You think that keeping secrets was hiding? No. You think the church can control what I am capable of? You have no idea. You don't even know who I am. I know who I am and what I'm capable. And you know what else? I don't believe in your rules and structures and what you can call ambition. Why end at the title Sir, actually? Why not go further? Do we go higher? Do I care? You know what I've realized? The gods don't care for our structure. They only care about what we do. And I'm going to make sure that my name, whatever it may be, lives on and travels far beyond your reach, your church, your walls. Why stop at Sir when I can become a god? I've never thought about it much before. But where does ambition lead? But to the heavens. Why stop climbing?
Phoenix indeed.
Sidebar, this is I think now the second or third time I've built I've played as a random character I didn't have yet, and ended up trying to become a god by the end of it.
To be fair, we did set that up. We set it up.
I mean, we're literally pursuing godly powers, but why stop at
Yeah.
3%, you know?
Right. Yeah.
3%, that's nothing.
Yeah.
We know mortals can become gods. We're following one who once was.
A phoenix indeed. I admire your drive. Spark within you is greater than I estimated. That I must concede. But I do not wish to hurt you.
Too late.
Ooh, that's a move. We gotta do a move after that. 3, 2, 1. Parry.
Penalty.
I felt it. I felt the energy. I'm so excited. So, penalty move represents your character choosing to utterly disrespect their opponent. You're welcome to interpret what counts as a penalty move flexibly, but the most common examples are inspired by real penalties from competitive fencing. You turn your back to your opponent or intentionally disarm yourself, signaling to your opponent that you do not even consider them a threat worth engaging with. In this game, turning your back must imply you are physically signaling or verbally declaring your intent to walk away from the duel. Similarly, to count as a penalty, you must meaningfully disarm yourself of your primary weapon, not just sheath it, signaling your intent to abandon the duel in favor of communication or departure, or to imply you do not need the weapon to best them. Such actions are discourteous and rude, and is such a penalty of form in a proper duel, but dramatic move in any narrative. So, you need to roll 2d6, please.
And I need to look at 4 or less for this to go in my favor.
That's correct. But if you do, it'll tie the game.
I got 4!
In fucking incredible.
What? I was not expecting that.
That's incredible. So
I
if
was
you
fully
roll,
expecting to get you to 9.
Yeah, well, if you roll your score, if you rolled a 5, you fail in an exceptional way, I would score a point to get me to 8, and I would strike a physical blow against you. If you rolled anything above a 5, you fail, and I score a point and have priority next turn, even though I just had it. If you roll below your current score, you succeed and score 2 points. We are now tied 7-7.
Wow.
You just literally, in this one move, narratively and mechanically, you've just leveled the playing field and put us both equidistant from victory.
I was fully expecting that to go poorly.
So what happened?
That's a good question.
Because statistically it should have. But that's not the story we're telling, and I'm so excited about that.
Wow, okay. I think this full time, Laurel's just kind of felt like he's playing mind games, like it's just another training session. And I'm done with your games. I'm done with your lesson. Haven't you understood that yet? This isn't a simple exercise. This blade, this sword, sure, I could go against your glaive, but would that really be satisfying? Your weapon can go as far away from you as you wish. But you know what? Maybe I can go away from mine too. Someday that glaive will not be enough. Just toss the rapier at him, fully sheathed.
At the feet.
Maybe you should consider arming yourself, sir. Turns around and walks in further into the grotto to get to the well.
Okay.
No pressure. It's anyone's game.
It's literally anyone's game. Leave us back to your priority now then. So it was just mine.
You ready?
No. I don't know now. Oh my god, what do I do to that?
Your best. Or your worst. I mean, you do you.
True.
3, 2, 1.
Harry.
Harry.
No! Okay. So that puts you at 8 of 9. Let me go read the section about that real quick.
Oh, I think this means your weapon has to come out now.
I believe so. 1 second. Let's see here. Characters can draw their weapons at any time. However, if one player reaches 8 points on a turn, their opponent must draw their weapon during that turn's description. Their opponent is close to losing their control. Soon the game of I Have the High Ground will end, and the ensuing battle will begin. Drawing your weapon has no mechanical effect, but represents a significant narrative escalation. And this rule ensures that this escalation happens before your game ends and encourages it to happen immediately before the climax of your story. Okay. So, on a parry tie, character without priority believes they finally spotted an opportunity in which to counter, but the player with priority wins the turn by patiently outlasting them, parrying the loser's blow to strike their own counterattack. I think you walk into the room. In it, there is a classic fairy tale well, right? Like this little stone circle with the cute little roof and the wheel, like the whole 9 yards, right? Like it fully looks like something out of Over the Garden Wall, right? Just in the middle of this ominous, dank grotto, right? There's just this we're assuming cute little well.
Oh, and it has moss growing on the sides that have little bioluminescent flowers.
Yes. But to uncue it up a little bit, I think just over the edge, you can see dozens of hands of dead bodies who are trying to reach out of it. Just frozen.
Gnarly.
I think they're not skeletal. I think it's bloated,
shadowy,
drowned.
kind of. Oh,
I was thinking bloated, drowned,
discolored. It just looks like if you touch it, the flesh will fall off in your hand.
Yeah. So as you are walking in, I think the glaive flies out and blocks your path. Right? It doesn't strike you, but just floats right in front of you. And echoing back to the rock to the back, you feel the impact of your blade onto your back.
Oh.
As I gotta say, maybe the time for teaching lessons has come to a close.
What would be a good, successful parry?
I mean, I have something that just popped into my head. If you want to steal it.
I mean, I've got a good line of maybe it's your turn to learn some
That's what I was just thinking! Say it, yeah, do it. Say it. It's gonna sound so badass.
Oh. Now, for your glaive, is it just a straight blade on it? Is it a curved sickle blade?
What I'm imagining is basically it's kind of flat on one edge and kind of like a curved leaf blade, and then it's mirrored on the other side. So it could spin and be a
double-edged little dangerous little.
Exactly,
little
but
thing.
then basically you can also parry on both sides because there's also no blade on half of each. So it's kind of because what it is the half of the geode half, so the quarter of the geode is where the blade is, and then there's no blade because the geode is I've got half of it on my forehead and then a quarter of it, one for each blade.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna grab the center of the shaft from the blade in front of me, spin it around, and bury it into the wall as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Just it comes up, spin it, no effort, into a turn around to face you. The time for teaching is long past, old man. Maybe you should learn.
Let's do a move. I think we gotta.
It's so close. It's so close.
It could literally. This could be it.
Oh, it could be. It might not be, but it could be.
All right. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
3, 2, 1. Parry.
Thrust. Oh, we are going all the way to the end.
We're going to the last one.
Oh,
and
no.
It means you have to draw your weapon.
Oh no. Yeah, I think after that, they just kind of scoop the toe of their boot underneath the rapier that fell down, kick it up into the air, grab the handle, and just like arm throw the sheath off of it across the room.
Ooh, yes, like
unsheath it one-handed, like don't even grab it. It's like, I'm not gonna need that until this is over.
Do you even fire the sheath at me?
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that would be more fun.
Okay. Trying to think which direction of cool I want to take this. I will, just like the other time, I will just bat the sheath out of the air with my gauntlet and catch it with my other hand. So careless about your things. And drop it on the ground. Look at the glaive that's still buried in the wall. You know, it's been so long since I won that weapon that I actually have failed you slightly as a teacher. I haven't taught you how I fought beforehand. And I will take like unarmed martial stance.
Oh.
Even after my title, I just couldn't stand the full plate armor. It's too constricting, not enough movement. So this is the way it must be.
So be it. It all comes down to this.
It literally all comes down to this. Okay. Oh man, I am agonizing.
I know what I want to happen, I just don't know how to make it happen.
What would Vicar Pelham do?
Yeah, because this isn't Sir Vicar the Unmarred. This is Vicar Bellum.
I think I'm ready. I'm not, but I think I know what I'm gonna pick.
I'm here trying to play 3D chess. If I could do this, but then what if, and then, oh. What makes the most sense narratively? Forget playing rock, paper, scissors. What makes the most sense narratively?
Just ship it.
There's the one thing that makes more sense at this point. But does it? 3, 2, 1.
Thrust.
Harry.
Okay. So on a parry win, the loser offered an aggressive thrust, which the victor struck aside to make a powerful counterattack. Parry beats thrust but loses to feint. In a parry win, the loser must offer the winning player a pitiful insult that their character lobs fruitlessly at the victor, setting up a comeback or an imposing physical move which the victor can effectively counter. Vicar will leap at you, just like leap with a fist coming towards you.
And I get to do the thing that I hoped I would get to do, that I wanted to happen. Laurel sweeps his arm aside with the blade, like on the green, not doing anything, just sweeps it aside to let him land fully while pulling out the dagger.
Yes.
So he just lands on the dagger. Chekhov's dagger, I wanted.
Yes, yes!
Oh my god. I never let go of the past entirely. Believe me, I'll still carry you.
And so So you're supposed to get the last word, but I need Vigor to say this, and then you can have whatever last.
Well, here's
word
the thing. I can always have the last word because you're about to be dead, and I'm about to rule over undead.
Yeah. Vigor will just look at you and say, "My greatest regret will be that I won't get to see what your flames shall wreak upon this world. My child." Very much not saying child in the talk down way. And doesn't go to continue the fight. I was this close to trying the penalty and just letting the dice decide.
I was wondering if you'd go for it.
I was this close to doing penalty and have them just like, but I in my brain I was like, no, because he wouldn't give you the win. He needs you to best him for real.
And I was thinking about thrusting, which would have been priority wins, but no. No. I'm gonna parry.
You knew. You prepared for this.
I did. I prepared.
Do you have any last word before I get into the resolution here?
Yes, I do. I think at this point, it's not that the fire's gone out, it's just the accepting, yeah, this is the way it went. Just does the grab behind the head, foreheads together. The fire will burn bright enough for you to see wherever. Don't worry.
Oh, yes! Yes! When a player reaches 9 points, they win and the duel resolves. In response to the winning move, the loser is finally compelled to act and they attempt to strike the first blow. This could be the result of a loss of patience, the necessity of time, or simply that they feel there's nothing left to say. The loser can act on any motivation that feels natural, though they should try to make their character's reasoning satisfying to the winner. The loser should narrate this attempted blow and may include dialogue, however the last word goes to the winner. The winner narrates their reaction to the blow and reserves the right to parry or block the loser's strike. The winner may also choose to take that blow, whether to demonstrate how little it affects them, or simply because they find it more narratively satisfying. If the winner does wish to parry, it can be helpful for them to communicate their intent to do so, where the loser narrates the blow.
Yeah, for our narrative purposes, we kind of combine things together. Like traditionally, this goes up to the point where you start the duel, and you're like, but no, this works. This is the start and end of the duel.
The resolution, or the first blow, is that first punch, which gets deflected.
And here is our duel.
And so that ends the game of I Have the High Ground. If you wish to play out the battle which follows, you can use another role-playing game. Alternatively, some players choose to talk about what happens in a free-form manner, collaborating on a high-level summary of how events resolved. So, my only question. Laurel Vale, Hills, or Vicar. What is Laurel Vale's design with this shard of divinity? What is their ambition? Like, what are they trying to do?
Oh boy, that's such a light, easy question, you know? So simple. I think at the beginning they went after it just because this is something that probably Vicar had found out about a while before, and had always talked about. This is something that for them to do to achieve more power and ambition. And once they left the church, we're like, well, you took this title from me, I'm going to take this from you. So just getting it was the point. But now, after what happened, the self-discovery through conversations, you know, now I want this to have some power of the gods, and I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to use this to find more abandoned deification on this continent, maybe another, as far as it goes, and will not stop until the gods themselves tell me.
You're gonna try and like patchwork a god A together.
Hey,
The divinities
that's the
together.
name of the series. Yeah,
Fucking incredible. That
that was great.
is I Have the High Ground by, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't say the author's name.
Jess Levine?
By Jess Levine. Thank you so much, Jess Levine. This game is incredible. Thank you so much, Emily. That story was incredible.
That was so much fun.
That was so much fun.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
We gotta go have a regular life after this?
Yeah, right.
I
yeah.
know, it was just, it was literally,
that penalty
anyone saying
roll
the whole time.
was incredible. That penalty roll is when I was like, I don't think, at that point I was like, I don't think Sir Vicar has it in him to kill you. Like, I truly, you winning that, to me, was like, not me getting so animated I accidentally unplugged my mic.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it just got way echoey world.
Yeah. So yeah, that penalty roll, because like, that whole time, the journey I felt Vicar going through was like, it's very interesting, the idea of like priests of ambition, or like an organized faith of ambition. How does that work?
It's like, I don't need you.
An inherently selfish thing usually.
Yeah.
So like, for me, it feels like Vicar's truest ambition was really just to rebuild the family he lost, right?
And that's ambition. All ambition counts.
Right. Like, honestly, now that I just said that, I didn't even think of it. Maybe all he would have done with that shard of power was bring back their spouse.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, maybe that's like, just get powerful enough that no one can hurt me or the people I care about anymore, and just, that's it. Maybe that was all. I don't know. But, that wouldn't have ended any better.
It's so good.
For a better resolution.
I think Laurel does just let him die and be dead, not brought into servitude or any of that of the undead. You just get to go and see what's next, and you can watch what happens.
You do walk out of there, Sir Laurel Vale, by the rights of the Odette Church, which we just established. You've just jumped a lot of ranks.